You know, some moments in history are like echoes. They happen once, but their sound, their impact, it just never really fades away. Today we're going to talk about a fire from over 100 years ago that didn't just burn down a building, it actually lit a fire under a whole movement and ended up reshaping America in ways that, believe it or not, still protect you and me every single day.
So let's set the scene. It's Greenwich Village, New York City. The date is March 25th, 1911. It's a Saturday afternoon, and inside the top floors of the Ash Building, hundreds of garment workers at the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory are just about to finish up their week. In just a few moments, everything is about to change. Not just for them, but for the entire country. And really, that's the heart of this whole story. It's not just about what happened on that terrible day, but about the responsibility that came out of it, this kind of mandate that, as this quote makes so clear, is still with us today.
Okay, so to really understand the legacy, we have to go back. We have to face the horror of what actually happened. What went so wrong on that Saturday afternoon?
146. That's the number of people who died. A fire broke out, and it spread with just terrifying speed. But here's the thing. It wasn't just the flames that killed them. It was the building they were trapped in.
So who were these 146 people? I mean, they weren't just a number. They were mostly young women and girls, immigrants who were the new face of America. We're talking teenagers here, some as young as 14 years old. They were Italian and Jewish immigrants, working these brutally long hours for very little pay, all because they were chasing that dream of a better life.
And this part is absolutely crucial. This was not some unavoidable accident, not at all. As Stuart Applebaum put it, this whole catastrophe was fueled by greed and incredible disregard for basic human rights.
So why were they trapped? The reason is it's horrifyingly simple. The factory owner, worried about workers taking breaks or stealing little scraps of fabric, had the exit doors locked from the outside. So when that fire started to rage, there was simply no way out.
But here's where the story turns. From those ashes, something truly powerful began to rise. The horror of what happened, it wasn't hidden away. It played out in public, for everyone to see. And it sparked a level of outrage that the city, and frankly the whole country, could not ignore.
And that outrage? It kicked off this huge wave of reform. Unions, like the International Ladies Garment Workers Union, suddenly saw their membership just explode as workers realized, hey, we have to stand together. Protests flooded the streets, with people demanding not just justice, but real, lasting change.
And the results were so tangible. You can draw a direct line from this fire to new laws. In that very same year, New York created a factory investigating commission. A couple of years later, a workers' comp law was on the books. And that momentum just kept building for decades, eventually leading to the creation of the Federal Occupational Safety and Health Act, what we all know as OSHA, in 1970.
But what about immediate justice for the victims' families? Well, that's a whole other story. After a civil lawsuit, the families of each of the 146 victims eventually got a payment. The amount? $75. Just let that sink in. $75. That tells you everything you need to know about how little a worker's life was valued back then.
Okay, so that brings us to today, because the story of the Triangle Fire isn't just history collecting dust on a shelf. Its echoes are all around us, playing out in struggles that are happening right now.
Remember those locked doors? You'd think that's a lesson we would have learned, right? Well, think again. Almost a century later, in the 2000s, investigators found janitors, many of them recent immigrants, by the way, being locked inside supermarkets overnight while they cleaned. It's the same dangerous practice, for the exact same cynical reasons.
And you know, the fight itself looks remarkably similar too. The faces might be different, the signs have changed, but that fundamental struggle for dignity, for safety, for a fair wage, especially for immigrant workers, it is a direct line from the fight that poured into the streets back in 1911.
In this echo, it's not just an American thing. It's global. In 2010, there was a fire at a garment factory in Bangladesh. 28 workers died. And why? They were trapped behind locked doors. Many of them jumped to their deaths. As one labor leader said, it was a mirror image of what happened at Triangle. A mirror image, nearly 100 years later.
And you know, the whole idea of a sweatshop has kind of evolved. A lot of those manufacturing jobs have gone overseas, but the terrible, exploitative conditions, they haven't disappeared. They've just shifted into new parts of our economy, like restaurants, retail stores, and car washes.
So what does all this add up to? Well, it points to one really clear conclusion. The fight that began in the ashes of the Triangle factory is not even close to being over.
In fact, and this is the really scary part, there's a real danger of things going backwards.
As the scholar Ruth Milkman warns us, the protections that people fought and died for over decades, they aren't guaranteed. They are absolutely at risk right now.
I mean, just look at the challenges we're facing today. Out of 30 industrialized nations, the U.S. ranks 29th when it comes to worker protections. Immigrant workers are still the most vulnerable to being exploited, and now we have all these new hazards, things like chemical exposures or repetitive stress injuries that don't always grab headlines. All while there's this constant push for deregulation that threatens to tear down the very safety laws that Triangle helped build.
So here's the bottom line. We like to think of progress as this straight line always moving forward. It's not. The gains of the past can absolutely be lost. And that forces us to ask a really tough question. Is history running backwards? And are we letting it?
At the end of the day, the legacy of the Triangle Fire isn't just a history lesson. It's a call to action. And it's perfectly captured in this timeless quote from the legendary labor organizer Mother Jones. It's a reminder that mourning the 146 people who died isn't enough. The real way we honor them is by continuing to fight like hell for the living.